Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Chef Yusuf, where we learn to cook the Islamic way. Today I'm going to go over a dish that is very well known in the Holy Land, my favorite place in the world, Palestine. The name of the dish is Maqlooba, and it translates to upside down. You will see why it is translated that way in the end. It has a big finale in the end. So before we start, actually, we have to go through the rules of cooking. The first rule of cooking is safety. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "Oh, who you believe, take your precautions. Be careful," basically. Even like most experienced cook would tell you that, this is one of the most important rules in kitchen. The second rule is do not waste. We don't want to waste food. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "Eat and drink and do not be wasteful. وَلَا تُسْرِفُوا." Do not waste. Basically, you have to wash your hands. You have to clean your hands. I'll share a hadith with you. It's narrated by Salman al-Farisi. Salman al-Farisi was talking to the Prophet ﷺ. He told him, "I read in the Torah that the blessing of food consists in wudu before it. So I mentioned it to the Prophet ﷺ, and he said, the blessing of food consists in wudu before it and wudu after it, basically. So the best thing is, wash your hands and basically do wudu. Why not? You'll have more barakah, and you'll say Bismillah while we start to cook. Oh, the other, some of the safety things that, especially for men and women, especially your hair. Try to, your hair not to be caught on fire or not to drop on food, especially for guys. If you guys have a long beard, make sure you somehow be safe. So in my case, I'm gonna go ahead and wear this, and it will be my Kufi/chef hat. And please, guys, if your beard is out of control, the last thing you need is your beard to caught on fire and you'll be punching your face trying to take it out. So try to somehow figure a solution for that. Okay, let's start, shall we? So Maqlooba is a Middle Eastern. It varies from country to country, but the main ingredient is rice, lamb or chicken, cauliflower, eggplant. So the main theme of this dish is actually the broth or the stock or the soup that we're gonna use to boil the rice in. And this is the most flavorful part of the dish, and you can ask any cook. Today we're gonna talk about the concept of broth and how to make the best broth you ever had. Now we're gonna use a lot of spices, but basically I want to give you the basics, and then from the basics you can add on what you desire and what you wish. So stock will enhance the flavor of all of your dishes, and you will see it after this episode. You have taken a cooking skill to a whole new level. Now, in order to make the broth, we're gonna talk about 3 awesome ingredients. In French cuisine, they call them méripoires. Basically, they are onions, celery, and carrots. Now, these 3 ingredients, you can make unbelievable imagination with these 3. And some people replace the carrots with either green pepper or corn. So basically, you have the salty from the celery and the sweetness from the carrots and the flavorness from the awesome balance. I'm going to chop them finer than usually that broths that usually take longer time to cook. And because if you keep boiling it, it will become a puree, and you don't want to have that. So if you're making a dish that contains 6 hours of cooking, you might want to chop them large chunks. But because we are gonna do this in really fast, maybe like it's gonna take less than half an hour to make this dish, or to boil the water. We're gonna use a quick chopping technique. And I just want to talk about a small story in the Quran. Is when Banu Israel were walking in the desert and they were eating manna and salwa, which is 2 sufficient food Allah gave them. But they were bored because they were eating every day. So they went to Prophet Musa and they told him. So they went to Musa and they asked him, "Oh Musa, ask your Lord to bring from the earth, from the beans and from the onions and etc." So they were asking for ingredients, and Musa told them, "Do you prefer what is low than what Allah give you, which is high?" So basically, this concept I want to talk about is the more ingredient versus less ingredient. Because we have more ingredient, usually we do not chew very properly. When people ask everything in the menu, we kind of keep swallowing the food, and that has a healthy effect in the long run. So when you have less choices, you properly choose the food, you probably focus on what you have in front of you, and you enjoy it more, and you don't waste it, you don't waste money. And the idea of having less food is the idea of barakah. So something very sufficient or like manna and salwa is not necessarily for people to have 10 different types of food. When Allah gave us the ability to have a lot of food, we shouldn't create much of it. So rather than having 10 choices, we'll try to keep less choices, and for this today's just we'll try to keep 3 choices. We'll add cauliflower, eggplant, and chicken. So here you go, Mary Paul. This is the concept, and when you master this, basically everything you cook, honestly, if you use these 3 ingredients, you will have an awesome flavor. So I'll put this aside, and I'll just gonna go ahead and chop, clean the cauliflower. This is a small piece, by the way, from the grocery store. They were having a sale on the organic items. When it comes to cauliflower, I like to cut it from the bottom, and that kind of what you want to do, honestly, is you want to cut them in edible sizes. So you can do that on your own. Now these pieces, honestly, you can just clean them up, and you can put them in the broth. Actually, this is what I was talking about, the leftover pieces that we can also use to put them in the soup. Why not? We don't want to waste food, right? This dish I'm working on today is going to be enough for 2 people or 4 people, and the reason I'm saying that is because the Prophet ﷺ said, طعام الواحد يكفي الاثنين, meaning that the food of 1 person is equivalent to 2 people, and the food of 2 people is equivalent to 4 people. So if we have the barakah, inshallah, this will be enough for 4 people. But in the measurement, we'll just say that it is enough for 2 people. When it comes to the eggplant, I like to cut them long way. Most people cut them this way, but when you cut them long ways, it will have a better texture, in my opinion. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut them long ways. And what you want to do, you want to cut them like a little bit thick. It's not too thin, not too thick. This will be okay. But basically, when it comes to the eggplant, we'll go ahead and salt them so we can break and take the moist out of them. The idea of this is when you deep fry it, it does not suck oil. Honestly, I do not care about this process because some people say it will have a bad result when it sucks a lot of oil. But because today we're gonna use olive oil, that's right, olive oil. When it comes to main dishes and main cooking, we will only use olive oil. I want to talk about frying the ingredients. And to fry the ingredients, let me just give you an idea about olive oil. Now, olive oil is more expensive than vegetable oil, but you do not go to any grocery store to buy olive oil. You have to go to specific places to buy olive oil from the Italian restaurant or from the Italian stores. Now, to deep fry things, you do not have to buy the most expensive oil. You can use palm oil, but why you want to do that? I went to the supermarket and I got this type of olive oil. This type of olive oil cost me $14.99. $14.99, and honestly, you will find corn oil that is more expensive with this quantity. This is awesome. It really tastes like olive oil, but most of the cheap olive oil that you buy, I think it's fake. It does not smell, does not taste like olive oil, but it says olive oil. And I'll give you an example. I bought this olive oil for $12.99. This olive oil for $12.99, and we're gonna use this because the other one I just finished the other day. So we'll use this type of olive oil to deep fry, only to fry and to cook with, because we don't want to waste and we don't want to become from the wasteful, as we mentioned. But when it comes to taste, an awesome taste from olive oil, I really, in the state, when you go to the supermarket and you see the shelf and you see all of these type of olive oils, honestly, you cannot try each one of them. It will take you a year to, more than a year, like 10 years to just finish all of them, because they sell them in large quantities and you don't know which one is good, which one is bad. So when it comes to deep frying, we don't care about really the taste. We use olive oil because it is healthy. I'm not going to talk about the nutrition fact about it. You can search it on the internet. Just to let you know that the extra virgin olive oil, it should be stored in a cool, away from the sunlight, and usually that's why they use the aluminum, case, and not really a glass clear case. So just to let you know. And by the way, when it comes to olive oil, I just want to say that the Prophet ﷺ said that eat olive oil and spread yourself with it. It comes from a blessed tree. And by the way, olive oil is mentioned 7 times in the Quran, just to let you know. 6 or 7 times. Olives are mentioned 6 times, oil 1 time, that makes it 7 times. Okay, so you can honestly deep fry this stuff, but I mean more than this much, it should not be necessary. So inshallah, this will heat up. We'll come back after the break and we will put everything together.